Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With a special birthday show edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and it is indeed July 16th, which means the Silver King is celebrating another big one, but that is just me putting myself over. The real reason we are doing this show is because none other than Anthem Sports Group and TNA Wrestling president Carlos Silva has decided to grace us with his presence. Full sit-down interview ahead of 2025 TNA Wrestling Slammiversary, airing this Saturday from the UBS Arena in New York. An absolutely loaded card. There's some partnership stuff going on with WWE where, at a minimum, Trick Williams and JC Jane are going to be part of this show, and there may be a phenomenal surprise as well, at least if you believe Carlos Silva, and there's no reason for us not to at this juncture. So as we get into today's show, allow the Silver King to remind you straight off the top that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at Getting Overcast. You can listen to full-length audio episodes on YouTube. You can also check out full-length video interviews. And we hope to have this conversation with Carlos Silva up with expediency. So make sure you check that out Wednesday and Thursday. Please also remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, that is buymeacoffee.com/getting over. And I would be remiss if I did not tell you to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all of that good stuff. You can send in questions and comments for the show, and you can vote in pre and post show polls surrounding premium live events and pay-per-views. Again, all of that on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky. Now look, the main event of the show is our conversation with Carlos Silva, so we're not going to waste any time getting to it. On the back end, we will certainly recap our conversation, and we'll give you a brief preview for TNA Slammiversary 2025. So without any further delay, here is the Silver King and Carlos Silva. Excited to welcome Anthem Sports Group President Carlos Silva for the purposes of this conversation, the man in charge of TNA Wrestling, to the show for the first time ahead of TNA Slammiversary, your company's signature pay-per-view being held at the UBS Arena in New York, Saturday, July 20th. You have been all across the sports and media landscape over the last quarter century. Even when you were leading PFL, would you have ever guessed that you'd wind up running a professional wrestling company?
I don't think that one would have been on my short list, Adam. But you know what? It's so great that I am, and we're having a great time. We have a great team. So, there's these twists that you have in your life and your career. It's interesting. And what's funny about it is, even though I might not have imagined it, there's so many connection points,
Of course,
around TNA wrestling. You mentioned PFL and World Series of Fighting, and so look, it's great that it's all come together.
Well, it's fun to watch your Twitter because it seems like you're all in, like you've bought into pro wrestling. Did you have any experience with it, either professionally as a fan prior to taking this job? And beyond that, have you been surprised at some of the intricacies that you've experienced behind the scenes compared to what you've seen in other sports throughout your career?
I would say I was a casual fan. I mean, like all of us, there's been these superstars that have been part of the wrestling world. Sorry,
it's okay. I have a dog too.
Dog in the house.
I have one too. You're good.
We have these superstars that are part of the sports and entertainment landscape, and I think being in and around that, either as a kid, you get brought up in whether that's the Hulk Hogans and the Andre Giants of the world. And then, it was so nice to see Goldberg this last weekend. And I was a fan of Goldberg as, another sort of superstar that peaked and crossed over beyond just the wrestling fans.
Mhm.
And so, look, being in sports and entertainment my whole career too, you track the businesses, you understand them, understanding the fandom, I think, is the biggest part of what we all do inside of this industry. And so, look, I've gotten many calls over the years about WWE opportunities. You always take those calls. And so, look, with everything that's happened with Endeavor and then TKO, again, understanding all that, even being a small part of that, as I ran Barrett Jackson, which was an Endeavor, and it is an Endeavor property, and got to know Ari and Mark, and I knew Nick from my time at CAA because he helped us do the deals for ESPN when we were at PFL. I mean, there's so many great connection points just from as we've all grown up in the sports and entertainment industry together.
And it's always fun to see people who are, let's say, from outside the professional wrestling world get involved, and then all of a sudden realize, like, okay, I get it. This is why people like this so much. This is why they get so invested into it. And there's a lot of attention obviously being paid to TNA and this Slammiversary show, more than there has been certainly in a while. Obviously, fans are coming into this. They're expecting payoff whenever there's a tentpole show being run. How focused are you and the creative team right now? Not just capitalizing on this interest with a good show, but building momentum coming out of this event, knowing how many eyes are going to be on it.
Look, I think in everything that we do in the sports and entertainment space, you think about those moments and those tentpole moments as you build your year. And Slammiversary is something that we've been thinking. I mean, I joined here, beginning of the year, end of December, beginning of January, and we were already, as someone that was coming into the organization, I was immediately thinking about what was going to happen at UBS Arena, biggest city, big arena, brand new, beautiful arena. No John Ledecky. He's been very supportive from the Islanders. How do we build for 6 months to get there? And then how does that not just, end and be exciting, but then how does that catapult us forward going, in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? And that's really how we've looked at Slammiversary. And I think some of that is all the other builds that even built up to it. I mean, LA is a great example of that. We had a great show out in LA, and that was like 3 months ago. And you continue to build this momentum every 30, 60, 90 days. And I think that's what you're going to see coming out of Slammiversary. There is a lot of attention around Slammiversary. It's going to be our biggest show. It's super exciting. But oh, by the way, what are you going to do after Slammiversary? It's just the way it works. And whether you're an athlete, whether you're in the entertainment space and you're doing shows, whether you're in the sports space, sure, you get like a little pause and you can enjoy it for a moment. But then guess what? You got to come back and keep it rolling. And that's what we're going to do coming out of Slammiversary.
Yeah, there's no off season of wrestling. You have a show the next Thursday and that's it. You have to deliver on that show. Otherwise people start criticizing you. That's just the name of the game. So that's right. Just to double back, it's fair to say you still expect this show to be phenomenal, correct?
It's fair to say that I very much expect this show to be phenomenal.
Okay, there you go. This partnership that you guys have with WWE, it's obviously benefited TNA quite a bit. I saw a citation in a report last week that social media has delivered, 5.3 million in earned value this year. So TNA, you guys are raking it in from an exposure standpoint. Historically, WWE, they haven't really been that keen to reach their hand across the aisle to competitors. What do you believe is their motivation? And is it simply to box out other competition? Because they don't necessarily need to help you guys along.
No, I don't think so. But I think that WWE and NXT also, when you're the leader in a category like they are, and you see it from WWE, you see it from the NFL, you see it from the Olympics, you see it from World Cup or Formula One. I think part of their job being the leader is also to pull the entire sport and properties up. And I really think that's how they're thinking about it. And you see it now on their social with us. Mm-hmm. It only benefits all of wrestling as the leader then takes a property like TNA that's foundational, been around for 23 years, one of the major leagues. But, we're not naive. We understand that there's WWE, there's AEW, and there's TNA. But being there and then, having a big brother like WWE to put their arm around you and help you with creative, help you work through things, help even with logistics, help you to just understand how you can be bigger has been great. And I think it's really accelerated here over the last sort of, I'd say 90 days, but certainly in the last 60 days in a big way around not just working together, but now really creating wrestling stories together. And I think the fans, the way I see it, as a fan for a second on my social media and just being a fan, I think the fans are enjoying that there's this new element around crossing over between promotions that is never really been done at this level and this consistently.
Yeah, certainly not with WWE, no question with that. There's this increased expectation because of this that TNA talent working in WWE, they're more likely to eventually jump over when contracts expire because they get a taste of the ecosystem. They know what's going on. And because of that, there's assumptions, that similar moves may happen with talent currently under contract. I'm thinking back to the PGA Tour Live Golf Framework Agreement that it doesn't really include any provisions about talent, and Live still kind of took a couple guys from the PGA Tour. I'm wondering if there's any part of this agreement, even if it's not in ink, that both sides are working together toward easing such transitions, making sure they're not shocks to the system or anything like that.
Look, I think the simple answer is I think it's a true partnership. And I don't know. I mean, I only know what I read about the PGA Tour and Live Golf and being in the industry. I don't really see that. I don't see them being in partnership at all.
No, they're not. They're not yet. Yeah,
there's not. So it is purely a competitive situation. Like we have a partnership agreement with WWE and NXT. And so we're contemplating all of those things around how talent moves, how talent develops, how talent might go up, down, sideways. We've been working quite a bit with AAA. We had been working with AAA, but now we're working with AAA at a different level. And Dorian and the team down there are great to work with. We were down at Triple Mania with a whole bunch of our wrestlers. Joe Henry came out to Joe Henry's song in Spanish, which was spectacular.
Cool.
And I think we're just going to continue to do more because it's a true partnership, and I think it's benefiting. Benefiting all of us to continue to grow this way, and so it's going to continue, and I hope it continues to accelerate.
My greatest curiosity about this partnership has been the actual creative process, just given all the moving parts in both directions. There's so many TV shows, premium live events, pay-per-views, so many obstacles, schedules, personal situations. Are there any guardrails contractually to make sure everything works out equitably? Or is it as simple as, like you're just saying, mutual trust and understanding and everyone's working toward a common goal?
Having done a lot of deals throughout my career, the best deals are ones that no one ever talks about a contract. No one ever cites a clause in a contract. And when that starts to happen, guess what? You don't have a very good deal, because that's when it's getting tense. So far, as I've sort of taken over this relationship on the TNA side, working at all levels, nobody has ever brought up, well, this is written down in a contract. And so I just think everyone's trying to enjoy creating content for the fans, which is ultimately, WWE and NXT are the best in wrestling at doing it. TNA has done it for a really long time in a super authentic way. It's why we've been around for 23 years. And I think we're all just enjoying doing it with each other. And I think Slammiversary will be another example of that is going to be, is going to blow the fans' minds off and have them enjoy and laugh and go, oh my God. And that's what the wrestling business is all about. And so, sure, I read the contract when we finally signed it. I don't think I've opened it up and looked at it, since that happened at the beginning of the year.
Fair enough. Now, more specifically, because I think this is something fans just are curious about, How does the creative get handled? Is it the respective creative leads working with one another? Is there a point person that's keeping track of everything, ensuring consistency and continuity? Like, how does it actually go down?
Usually it's pretty simple. It's usually a bunch of text messages with emails and a phone call if it's needed. And, to your point, Adam, sometimes the thing that we have to be most careful about is sometimes just making sure logistically we can get people where they need to go.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of WWE shows, there's a lot of NXT shows, there's a lot of TNA shows and tapings, and we just got to get people to wherever they need to be. The good news is everyone. This is what we all do, and everyone's pretty good at it. And so even at times when that can't happen, as we can create content anywhere in the world these days, and we're doing that. I mean, we've done it on our side, whether it's Santino, our director of authority, announcing something, and he might be anywhere in the world, and he puts out a 1-minute clip on social that might announce something. And so it's that's probably the biggest thing, is just making sure the logistics. But the creative's been very easy. It's been, these are the ideas. What do you think about it? And look, I think we're also learning a lot from working with them, and I think they appreciate sometimes our feedback around our fan base too, and we just work through it together. So far, it's been great.
So the talent and marketing exchanges have both gone well. Has there been any legitimate talks of a full-on co-promoted TNA, NXT, maybe even AAA event? Is that something we're likely to see?
Don't really know. We haven't really talked about it. I think we've just been doing what we do best, which is, there's a AAA show in Monterrey, Mexico. Here's a storyline. Let's make it happen. There's NXT, we know, is every Tuesday night. It's mostly in Orlando. So there's storylines that are laid out, weeks and months in advance. And then there's the bigger opportunities that happen, like WrestleMania with Joe, that are just, they're big deals for everybody. And so, maybe those aren't quite as planned out, because I think, the creative minds that be are always grinding on trying to find, new ways to create, these great moments for all the fans. But, it's one of those things where every 2 or 3 days we're all connected. I've got a great team on my side with Tommy Dreamer and Hunter and Eric, and on their side, on the NXT side, we mostly work with Sean and Johnny. Mm-hmm. down in NXT, and as needed, we work with the WWE team on the bigger items, whoever that might be.
As this relationship developed, obviously speculation is going to kind of come around, citing unnamed sources, of course, from other people, that WWE's gearing up to buy TNA, or perhaps even TKO, is looking at Anthem Sports as an acquisition target. As you sit in your position, has that topic been broached internally or otherwise?
No. I mean, for us, I've been doing this a long time around creating properties, building properties, creating the kind of groundswell of the fans really loving what we're doing. I think that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, if you have a great product and you deliver on the product and you're being professional around how you build that product as a business, mm-hmm. I think opportunities will come up. And it's my job to create opportunities for our investors. And look, our partnership with WWE and NXT is going great, and we're going to keep it going great. And that could appear as an opportunity down the road, but that we're just sort of making sure that things like Slammiversary and Bound for Glory are, what we're doing on TV, how we're creating content, how we're working with our partners, how we're bringing in new sponsors, how we're filling up arenas. If we do all those things well, the business will sort itself out, and there'll be opportunities that then we'll explore, internally as well as with our partners.
Well, to that end, right, for those listening who may not know, you made waves last week. You shared that there's some ongoing negotiations to put TNA on a channel with greater reach than Access currently has, in a deal that you said, I think you're hoping is in the range of $10 million annually. Are those negotiations specifically for Impact itself? And how focused are you on linear TV being the home for that show?
I don't. Yeah, we're definitely not focused just on linear. I think if you didn't see, you saw Dana saying something the other day about how they're looking at more global platforms. I think all of us look. I've been in and around the disruptive part of television for 25 years. It's been a big part of my career. I mean, we're in yet again maybe the biggest disruptive moment maybe since cable formed 30 plus years ago when we were all screaming for MTV on our cable line. I think we're in that same moment, but it's the opposite. Instead of it all coming together in this new platform, all of the platforms are exploding outward, and we don't know where they're all going to land. And so we're looking at really nobody is really in the linear business anymore. They might be at the core linear company, but then they're looking to be in the digital company. If they're a core digital company, they're looking to try and understand how they look like a linear company to bring in those fans so that they can understand it. And we're talking to everyone, and we're also exploring some stuff on our own. We've got a bunch of platforms that we've built in TNA Plus, and we've been doing a lot of good work on a bunch of digital platforms. YouTube being one, but a few others. So again, I think we're cobbling it all together. There's a lot of moving parts. We're seeing on a weekly basis properties that could also be opportunities then getting sold. Things change on a weekly basis. So as I've said, this is about getting the I's dotted and T's crossed. It's hard work, but things are going well, and we're going to keep grinding to get it done.
How far away would you say TNA is from profitability, and is that attainable in the near future, like with your current projections?
I think I think it's right there. It's kind of a one deal kind of a moment. And that's a bunch of different deals around sponsorship, distribution. And I think operationally, we've just gotten a lot tighter, stronger. Look, I mean, you can't deny too, and I think people sometimes forget, when you put more people in the stands, that's a foundational revenue stream for a live events business that matters.
Right.
And we're going to have, we've had more and more people in the stands every single week this entire year, and it continues to increase. I mean, I've heard stories from a year, 18 months, 2 years ago where there were 300 and 400 people in the stands. I mean, we're never in those kinds of situations anymore. And, you've always got 1,200, 1,500, and, moving up to thousands and thousands that you're going to see on Sunday night at UBS Arena. And that matters. And I also don't think that any of these businesses, there's one piece of it. It's distribution. There's ticketing. There's merchandise. There's F&B. There's certainly sponsorship. And you've got to go hit all of those items so that you can have a healthy business. And it's what we've done for a long time. And we're trying to bring that business rigor to TNA. And, so far, so good. But again, we're only, at least for me, I'm only 6-7 months into this journey, and you got to continue to sort of get the business right. But things feel really good right now.
As someone who didn't really watch much TNA in what people would consider its heyday, I find myself putting on that fast channel with regularity. Have operators been pretty pleased with viewership there? Does TNA see that still as a benefit? And is that something that's going to continue regardless of a new TV deal?
Absolutely. It's definitely one of our, the library is very important to the value here at TNA. We have 6,000 hours of content from over the years. It's nearly all digitized other than some of the older standard definition stuff, but anything from the HD world is all digitized. It's available. If you subscribe to TNA Plus, you can have it now. We're obviously building and distributing a really great fast channel. There's some opportunities even in Europe around that fast channel that we're exploring. And it continues to just be another outlet. You got to keep hitting all of your outlets, whether it's your traditional TV distribution with a show like Impact, whether it's the explosion shows that we do that are the 1 hour cut down shows, the social media that we do. You got to just keep working all of it to continue to build the fan base up. And we've got a great team that does that every day. And, we have a great team down in Nashville that have been, leading TNA, with Eric Tompkins being a member of that team for, more than 15 years. And they have all that foundational knowledge that really helps, to your point, to bring also some of the great archives to the surface so that people can really understand that TNA isn't just popular now. It's been popular for a long time.
I know our time's ticking down. I'll get you out of here on this real quick. WWE, they're seen as the worldwide leader. AEW, they've emerged as the challenger brand coming out of Slammiversary. How do you want TNA to be seen? What is the unique selling proposition for this brand?
You know, I think TNA brings an interesting place because, again, we're one of the major leagues. We've been around for 23 years. It's not easy to have any business around for 23 years, let alone one in sports and entertainment. Yeah. They come and go all the time. So as TNA had its ups and downs, of course, everybody has their ups and downs over the course of 23 years. We're definitely on an up. But I also think that TNA brings this unique, authentic wrestling brand that can develop young talent, can find and develop folks like Joe Hendry and bring them up and let the world enjoy them. But then we also can be a place where, guys like, Nick Nemeth, certainly the Hardys and a whole bunch of other ones, I can't even mention all of them, also can extend their career and then recreate their career here at TNA that then puts them back on an upward trajectory as well. And I think that's a unique, that's sort of the unique thing about TNA that also, helps us create these great partnerships, because I think the fans can, get that. And then you see some really interesting stuff. You got guys like Leon Slater. That's another example of a young star that has come up through TNA. And, Matt Hardy talks about him all the time, about how he's got a vested interest as a coach and really coaching him up. I mean, you can't buy that kind of stuff. I mean, that stuff is unbelievable, and it's so helpful to TNA and all the fans, but it's also helpful to Leon. And it's really cool for Matt, because I think he's really enjoying it. So I think that's what's unique about TNA.
No, that's great. And it's great to have you here. I appreciate you being so candid with us. Thank you so much for the time. And great luck this weekend, Slammiversary, UBS Arena, July 20th in New York.
Great. Thank you, Adam.
As I said at the end there, very much appreciate Carlos Silva and TNA Wrestling for making him available for that opportunity. First time since we've started this version of the show. Certainly we've had other incarnations of the Silver King podcasting about professional wrestling, but the first time since that's happened that we've had an executive outside of WWE on the show. Of course, we've spoken to Shawn Michaels and some others previously, but it was great to get the insight that he provided there. It's inherently difficult whenever someone is doing a media tour to come up with a line of questioning or digging into different areas that perhaps they have not discussed elsewhere already to ensure that it's not repetitive. So if someone is really interested in hearing him, they didn't just see one interview he did and say, well, that's my fill, and they're not going to ask anything different. So we tried to do that to some degree. And what I appreciate very much from Mr. Silva there was how candid he was in his responses. Now, certainly, I'm sure he kept a few things close to the vest, but that is the name of the game. After all, he has interests that exceed entertaining and informing the Getting Over Wrestling podcast audience and all of you who may be listening for the first time. But regardless, to be able to answer some of those questions that we posited at him, we greatly appreciate him sitting down with us and doing that. And TNA Slammiversary this weekend, it is indeed a significant show. I wasn't going to say the name, not the Joe Hendry name, but the other name during the interview, because I don't want to put him in an awkward position. And it's pretty clear what TNA is teasing anyway, but he tweeted, Carlos did, earlier this week that he expected Slammiversary to be phenomenal. Obviously, he confirmed that in our conversation, the idea being that TNA legend AJ Styles may well appear at Slammiversary, the first time he'll be back in TNA since, of course, leaving New Japan for WWE. And that is immensely interesting. I want to say that he's done a video package for a retirement or something like that, but physically present is not something I believe Styles has been in a TNA ring since he went over to WWE. So that, of course, would be a significant moment for that show. And AJ is in the midst of a build for the Intercontinental Championship match against Dominic Mysterio at SummerSlam. So it's not like he's on the sideline right now. He just signed a one-year extension to his contract with WWE, according to reports. And, for him to be able to potentially show up here at TNA, certainly we don't know that with certainty, but it seems like that is the tease. It seems like that's the way this is building. That is hugely positive for this company as they're trying to continue attracting eyeballs and getting more people watching the product. I'm extremely curious to find out if and when this TV deal is going to be announced. I did not ask him a time frame. He had previously said 60 to 90 days, and that was, a week ago, I want to say. So, obviously that's a little bit shorter than it was, but that's before the fall is the key. And certainly in the history of professional wrestling, a lot of new TV deals, especially recently, have begun on October 1st. So again, I don't have the detail here because the deal isn't signed, hasn't been announced, at least not yet. But my presumption is that an announcement would be coming in the next 60 days with an October 1st start, or potentially they start at the beginning of 2026. Either way, with their current comfort home in access, there's no need for them to immediately jump anywhere, and they can take their time and find the right deal for them and ensure that TNA Wrestling continues on the best foot forward. My curiosity, of course, is it going to be Impact, the show that they are selling? It seems like that's the case. And will it continue airing on Thursday night? I'm not sure there's a guarantee of that necessarily. So that will be interesting to follow, and we will certainly continue updating you about all of that here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Now, in terms of TNA Wrestling Slammiversary this weekend, the card is extremely solid. And if you're a WWE fan, primarily, let's say, there's a lot of familiar names on this show that give you a pretty damn good reason to watch. So I'm not going to call this an ultimate preview because certainly we don't cover TNA Wrestling the same way we do WWE, NXT, and AEW with as much depth. And certainly from a viewership standpoint, I'm not able to watch the shows with the same regularity. But nevertheless, I've done my research. I've watched the last couple of TNA Wrestling shows, and I do want to go over this match-by-match card as they build for Slammiversary, give some insight on what's happening, some picks and predictions, and then we will see how it all transpires Saturday from the UBS Arena in New York. TNA Championship's going to be on the line. This has been the most prominently built match. Of course, Trick Williams defending against Joe Hendry and Mike Santana in a triple threat. It's felt destined that Santana would win here as a native New Yorker who has tons of momentum at his back right now. It also keeps alive, if he does win, a Santana-Hendry feud for the title by using Williams as the in-between. I'm very curious to see if that's the reason. Certainly, Trick beating Joe is an easier loss, especially the way he did it, than Santana beating him straight away. And it allowed them to build this match and put another prominent name in the main event. So that's my expectation. Santana comes out of here as the TNA champion, a lot of wind in his sails. Hendry doesn't really need the title again. He did a great job as champion. Trick did a fantastic job getting that title on WWE television, but certainly even his spots on TNA were extremely entertaining as well. So that's the prediction. Santana coming out with the title. There's going to be a winner-take-all match. Masha Slamovich, the TNA Knockouts champion, against JC Jane, the NXT Women's champion. I have no idea what to think about this. Unlike with Trick winning the TNA title, I'm not sure either company benefits from a change here. Like, given the existence of Fatal Influence and the women who have Masha's back, I'm just presuming this is going to be like a cluster at the end, a disqualification, a no contest. It'll probably lead to, like, I don't know, a 6-woman match or something like that in the future. Masha winning on the Go Home NXT Tuesday night, it probably didn't mean that much of anything. If either of them was going to be double champion, I have to believe it would be Slamovich and not Jane. So if there's a decisive winner, I'm picking Masha. I just don't really think there's going to be. And as long as the storytelling works and the action is great and we get a significant match in terms of time, then I don't think going with a no contest or a DQ in a situation like this is the end of the world. But look, they are promoting it as winner take all. And ideally, you want to deliver on that promotion. So it's certainly possible. But it would be interesting if WWE decided not to strap up Jordynne Grace. That way, JC could lose to Masha. I mean, that is, that's an interesting decision from WWE side. Not necessarily a poor decision, just an interesting decision. TNA X Division Championship, Moose defending against Leon Slater. Slater has the chance to become the youngest X Division champion, which to me means there's no real rush for him to come out on top here. You heard Carlos Silva put Leon over, and that's pretty cool that he shouted him out individually. I'm thinking this is a situation where Moose retains the title and Leon wins it a little bit further down the line. Not that dissimilar from really what's happening with Javon Evans. He had opportunities at the NXT title. I think he had an opportunity at the North American Championship. Hasn't won it yet. We all know the dude's going to win a title sooner than later. I would guess the same thing happens here with Slater, that Moose retains on this show. Tag team championships, the Nemeths against the Hardys, the Rascals, and First Class in a ladder match. As most ladder matches are, this is a total toss-up. The Rascals, they haven't held the titles in 2 years. They make a lot of sense for a big babyface moment on a show like this. Certainly strapping up the Hardys when you may have a significant number of WWE fans tuning in. That makes sense. The Nemeths, their title reign, I want to say it's less than 80 days, something like that. So a retention is certainly possible. The only team I really think we can eliminate off the front is First Class. I don't necessarily see them winning the straps here. I think I don't know what the betting market says because it is wrestling. I don't really look at that generally. I would guess it's leaning toward the Hardys, so I'm going to go pick the Rascals. I think it'd be really exciting to have them win the straps on this show, and certainly they're big-time fan favorites in TNA. Tessa Blanchard against Indy Hartwell. We ran out of time. I'm just being candid, breaking the fourth wall with all of you. I was going to ask a question about Tessa, but it didn't necessarily fit in the line of questioning that I was having with Carlos, and ran out of time at the end of the interview, so it didn't happen. But I'm extremely curious about how she's being received even now backstage at TNA. I would love to see Indy win here. You all know that I was bothered that WWE released her. I understood it. I completely understood it, but it bothered me. So I'd love for her to win. But Tessa just feels like she's a level higher in TNA right now. So unless Hartwell is about to get a major push, Blanchard going over makes sense. Mustafa Ali against Cedric Alexander. It would be a shame to see Alexander lose here and kind of stall the momentum he's been able to gain and build since joining TNA. But Ali appears to have the numbers advantage. Plus, with a win here, he could truly move into the main event scene. And if you do have Santana coming out as babyface champion, bringing up Ali as a heel challenger makes all the sense in the world. And lastly, we have the Knockouts Tag Team Championship, Elegance brand against the Inspiration. With Inspiration seemingly back full-time, I cannot see any reason why they would not walk out of here with the titles. That would be a legitimate surprise. And if you're not getting a title change in 2 of the, I think, 5 title matches on this show, then it would make sense to do one here, no question. Make it 3 changes, 2 retentions. That's the way I see the show going. So I have Inspiration winning the titles. And just, not that we're trying to do the count here to see how many former WWE talents are on the show, but just for the purposes of conversation and whether they are going to get additional WWE viewers on this program. Well, 13 of the 23 talents that are actually booked on the card were previously in WWE. And when I say that, I mean they actually had a run in WWE. Other people have done different spot things here and there. But I'm saying in terms of being, full-time WWE superstars where they were featured on television and actually utilized, 13 of 23 on this card have that claim. And certainly the other major names like Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, Masha, Slamovich, Moose. So this is a pretty loaded card when it comes to potential fan interest, which is why it's so curious for me to see how well Slammiversary performs and what they do on the show. That's one of the reasons I asked that question. It's not just about putting on an individually and entertaining show. It's about doing enough to tell the viewer who is only tuning into Slammiversary, who does not watch Impact Weekly, who doesn't follow TNA on social media, those fans, you got to do enough on this show to tell them it is required viewing for you to come back Thursday, even if you don't have access or have access to access. Get TNA Plus, figure out a way to watch this show. And if they can do that, if that can be their achievement coming out of Slammiversary, then you may see TNA make some even more serious gains than they've already made. And then you combine that with the potential TV deal that they're teasing. Maybe, instead of just being the number 3 company, they become a legitimate number 3 company sooner than later. So look, that wraps up this special edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. In terms of additional build for TNA Slammiversary, and plenty of it did happen Tuesday on NXT. We're going to talk about all of that on Thursday on our next NXT and AEW show, so you definitely do not want to miss that. And then for those of you who may be listening for the first time, just so you know, we do instant analysis surrounding pay-per-views and premium live events. So last weekend, we did 3 shows AEW All in Texas, a combined show on Saturday night's main event, and Great American Bash for WWE and NXT respectively, and then another show on WWE Evolution. We also have a WWE show that we publish every single Tuesday that's already in the podcast feed for this week, covering the return of Roman Reigns, saving CM Punk and Jey Uso, which was, of course, pretty interesting. The match card being basically 80% built, it seems, for SummerSlam. Tons of topics we covered on that show. You don't want to miss that. And our next show after this Thursday show covering NXT and AEW will be on Tuesday, talking all things WWE. In terms of coverage of Slammiversary, it is completely dependent on whether the Silver King is home and available on Saturday night. I'm currently covering the Open Championship, which, for those of you who know, it's a golf event taking place in the United Kingdom, this year in Northern Ireland, so the times are wonky. Rounds start at like 1 to 3 a.m. They end at like 3 p.m. Then being able to stay up till possibly 11 o'clock, 12 a.m. For a wrestling pay-per-view, I just don't think it's going to be in the cards. So we will circle back and discuss TNA Slammiversary at some point. Possibly Saturday if I'm somehow able to watch. If not, probably next Thursday. We'll talk NXT, AEW, and TNA Wrestling Slammiversary. I appreciate all of you listening to this special edition of the show. On the way out, some reminders. First, the Getting Over Wrestling podcast.
It's all about Defy.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we'll read it live right here on the show. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Getting Overcast. Full-length audio episodes, full-length video interviews, all of it on YouTube at Getting Overcast. Hit us up on social media, at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all of that good stuff. You can also send in questions and comments for the show. And please also remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
Hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, that is buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. That is it today. I'm going to take the rest of these, what do we have? 12 hours remaining and celebrate my actual birthday. This is the Silver King signing off, leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.